Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I would like to discuss the prospect of a Brexit US trade deal again, but this time from a different angle. A little bit of a twist there. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the US trade deal was, of course, supposed to be one of the grand prizes of Brexit. In fact, you could be forgiven for thinking it's pretty much all Boris Johnson had to go on. But the problem is that even if we get a good one, it's still not actually going to boost the UK economy. So I've talked a few times about how the US proposals for a trade deal with the UK in reality will mean a huge hit to the economy, whilst boosting only the US economy. I'm sure I'll be doing so again as the talks get properly underway, whenever that is. But let's just say you don't buy that. I don't believe you, Phil. Even you've read the proposals and you accept that the proposals are as they are, and you go, I think Boris Johnson is a brilliant negotiator, or at the very least he appoints brilliant negotiators, and he will somehow be stronger than the United States and beat them into giving us a great free trade deal. Okay, let's just go with that. The problem then is that even a full trade deal and a genuine free trade deal actually means no great boost to the UK economy at all. The thing about free trade deals is that people just think of them as, well, that means we're not going to be paying tariffs, not subject to quotas. That means we can massively increase the amount that we export, the amount of goods that we sell to that other country, because our products are suddenly cheaper in their markets. And there's nothing wrong with this logic. That, in theory, is the way it works. If the current arrangement is lots of tariffs and or severe quotas on our favourite exports, or at least their favourite imports from us. But that's not the situation with the United States. Trade arrangements are not binary. It's not either completely free trade or tariffs on everything. It has never been in either the EU's or America's interest to have damaging trade barriers between each other. In fact, just recently, when the US said to the UK, do you know what? You're not at the front of the queue for trade talks. We actually need to talk to the EU now. And the, Donald Trump's spokesperson was saying, the reason for this is we don't want a trade war with the EU. It'll be very damaging for both sides. We need to get this free trade deal sorted out. Which of course means that the EU and the US don't, of course, at the moment have a free trade deal. But they do have a fairly comprehensive series of agreements that means that trade is pretty good between them. Every now and then, the United States, and it's done so under Trump, whacks up some tariffs on some goods that the EU exports to the US. The EU's pretty good at stamping on that. I've talked about this before, how they do it, but for those who don't recall or didn't watch those videos, very briefly, how it works is this. Normally between two countries when a trade war starts is one country ups tariffs, customs duties on some goods that the other side trades with them. And then the other side bungs up tariffs on goods that are exported from that other country. And you end up with a trade war. The EU are a little bit more cunning about it. What they do is because what you might normally think is, what we'll do is we'll put up tariffs on something that they export a lot of. It's not what the EU do. What they do is go, right, this is a political decision, increasing the tariffs on these goods. So what we'll do is we'll identify the most influential people in the US government, and we will put tariffs up on goods exported from their local area, which means that their local businesses, their local producers will be hammering on their door, those influencers' doors, to sort it out. That's how they do it. It's quite cunning. And it means you end up with no escalation. You end up with a quick climb down, in fact, which happened with both George Bush Jr. and Donald Trump. So, and of course, it's the EU's current arrangements, which are like fairly free, that the UK currently trades on, because we were a member of the EU, and even now we're still using those arrangements because we're still in the single market. So let's assume that we've left the transition period, we get a full trade deal with the US completely tariff free. We remove all tariffs on goods that we export to the US. And against all logic, we're able to get such a deal without having to compromise our food standards or agree to have our public services, such as the NHS, be forced to buy American products even when they're at whack-eye prices compared with where else they could get them from. How much good would that do us? Well, the most recent report we have from the government, who of late have not been very good at releasing reports, but we do have a fairly recent one, and it was saying that we exported £221 billion worth of goods to the US. I believe this was 2018, but it's from the most recent report. £221 billion worth of goods exported to the US, and we paid £493 million in tariffs on them. Now, I know both of those really big numbers help you out with the old maths here. So if we work out the tariffs paid as a percentage of the goods we exported, so 493 million over 221 billion times 100, turn it into a percentage, it amounts to 0.2%. I'll say that again, 0.2%. Is that what you expected? That is not what I expected. Rounded off to the nearest percent, on the current arrangements, which is not a free trade deal, we pay 0 tariffs when exporting to the US right now on the current arrangements with the EU. So, like I say, even if we get a no strings attached free trade deal with the US, which is proper unicorn thinking, then we do not gain anything significant from such a deal. Rounded off to the nearest percent, the gain is 0. Compared with what we had as a member of the EU single market. It's certainly not a grand prize, which is worth the massive loss in trade when we struggle with customs checks and having to pay tariffs with our much larger amount of trade with the EU. So it's not just the case that those of us in the UK should worry about what a US-UK trade deal will actually be in the world of reality. Even if you imagine we could get a completely no-strings free trade deal with the US, there isn't anything to be gained from it. Even if you insist there are no downsides, there isn't actually anything to be gained from it. So there we are. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.